Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's not Halloween. Alright, that's long past. But when it came to my Halloween videos, I ran out of time and I couldn't upload everything I wanted to. So that's why I'm uploading them past Halloween. But if you stop and look at it like this, at some point in time, it's gonna be Halloween time again, October. So somebody eventually will stumble upon my videos and watch it around Halloween time. So yeah, and I'm here today to talk to you about Goosebumps, the haunted house game. This is a really fun episode. It's a little scary, it's a little spooky, it's a little creepy, and it's very eerie. One of the great things that sell this is the location. First thing, the outside, the location looks great. Classic Goosebumps. That's something that the first movie was missing, that classic spooky location in Canada. Second, the interior. It's just a rinky-dink old house, but the cool thing is, it's like, okay, when they get sucked into the game and when they're on the actual game puzzle board, that looks so cool, man. Like, it's weird. Like, it's bright, it's colorful. And it has cardboard cutouts of like trees and other stuff, but in an eerie, Halloweenish kind of way. And the bright colors help it because they're like these dark, like neon colors and stuff. So it gives you a different atmosphere and feel. And then when it takes you into like certain rooms inside the board game, that's even cooler. It's like all old, rustic, dingy looking, like a old house and everything. It's a great location. That's something the first movie was just missing. And so, like, I'm telling you, man, like, I would have killed in my teens to have been on a Goosebumps show, man. Like, just being able to be in these cool locations, running around like a crazy person, that would have been awesome, man. I'm telling you, these kids had so much fun on that show. And like, that's one of the things I want to hear from the actual cast. I wish they would come out of like seclusion and actually talk about their experiences on Goosebumps. Was it fun? Was it not? Were they picked on? Like, well, like, nobody knows anything because they don't do interviews and they don't even really mention that they was on Goosebumps and stuff. Like the actress Laura Vandervoort, who's in this is her second appearance, but actually it's her first. She's been in 2 Goosebumps episodes, but this is her first appearance. She was in the series finale of Goosebumps, Deep Trouble. I've already talked about that, where she played Sheena. And of course, she was Supergirl on Smallville. And you never hear her talk about Goosebumps. Like, never. You can hear her talk about every other show she's been on, but she never talks about this. So it makes you wonder, was everything not all like, hunky-dory and everything? And so, like, the guy who plays Jonathan, he was Roger in Camp Nightmare, and I've already talked about that. What is it? The dude who plays Noah, he was in You Can't Scare Me. I haven't talked about that. I might, only because it's just kind of like a weird kind of episode and stuff. I might talk about that. And the girl Annie, and this is the only Goosebumps episode she's ever been in, but like she went on to be in some other Canadian show. I have no idea what it was called, but she was like a main character in that. And so like this episode, it's a little silly, a little goofier. It's just cool looking. And then when you really get involved into it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this will creep you out and everything and stuff. Now it is very much different from that of the book and stuff. So basically it's like this. It's Nadine and it's Jonathan, and they're walking alongside the sidewalk and they have to get to like a pep rally. It's still during the day, but it's a little bit in the evening. And they come across a teeny tiny little girl who's crying about her cat ran into this spooky house. So Nadine wants to go, but Jonathan does not. And so when they go in there, they're looking around and they find a board game. Nadine is very interested because the house on the board game is the same house outside that they went into. When she lifts the lid on the board game, they're automatically sucked into the game. And they realize that, and that's when all the cool stuff happens. But first, they read like the rules of the game. The rules of the game is like if you roll a seven, cause you have dice. If you roll a seven, you go to heaven, and all these other rules, right? And what's different from the book is that there is no little girl. Basically, it's like thundering outside, and they run into the house, and then they see the board game. Now, also, what's different in the book is when they play the game, they never get sucked into the game. They actually just play it, and when they play it, everything that happens in the game happens in reality to them. I don't know how I feel about this because it's kind of like that would have been cool to see on screen, but I like the idea of them being in the game better. So this is one of those changes in the show that benefited a lot from that, from what came from the book. And so they're creeped out, they're freaked out, but they're all like, all right, the only way to escape the game is to finish the game. So they play it. And when they play it, all this kooky, crazy stuff and freaky stuff starts happening. There are like old people in there that are creepy and scary. There's like a dead dude who because you have to get like, when you play every round, you have to like collect items, and these items help you with the next round. And there's all these clues and riddles and stuff like that. It just sounds fun, man. And so like when they take the locket or the compass off the like one dead corpse, his finger pops off, and they show the finger popping off, and it's so gross. And then like when they go talk to the old ladies who have like a card game, they give her like a locket or something like that. They give her something, and when they give it to her, the locket, her hand turns like old and decrepit and everything, and they're freaking out. So they have to roll the dice, but they can't because he lost the dice. So he grabs the giant dice that the old ladies were playing with, and they get teleported back to the board game part thing. So when they're still searching around, they find these two other kids named Annie and Noah. Now I gotta say, this is one of the most diverse casts of Goosebumps ever, which is very shocking because Goosebumps is predominantly white. And this one has like a white girl, a black dude, a Jewish guy, and a Hispanic girl. And so this is like the most diverse cast I've ever seen. Now, in the book, Annie and Noah are the brother and sister of Jonathan, but in here it's changed. And so they're all like, they're trapped into the game and they've been trying to get out, and they're like, all right, we'll just help each other, right? And so, but you can tell something's off with them because when we first started seeing something, like Jonathan has a camera and they couldn't see, so he started using the flash. And then there was these two old people coming towards them, all scary looking. And then all of a sudden they turn into Noah and Annie. So it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, something's up with them. So they're like old ghost people in the game, but they pretend to be little kids. And so they're playing, and then Noah decides he's gonna cheat and everything by trying to bust through the window. And he tells him he ain't supposed to cheat Noah, and then all of a sudden he gets sucked into like a clothes basket. As they're walking around, they're looking for Noah, and Annie just has a weird smirk on her face and stuff. Like after she says she hates this house, Jonathan sarcastically is all like, "Oh, I love it," and she just gives like a sinister like grin. Then they find Noah and everything, and so when they're trying to escape, they have to use the clues, and Nadine and Jonathan are very smart and know how to use the clues. Noah and Annie are not. So when they get to like the steps and everything, they're like, cool, dude, it's like the front door, we can like leave. So they run, but then Annie and Noah turn back into the ghost men and prevent them from leaving. They're like, oh, you ain't never leaving this house. We like to collect people. And then they see like a board game, with a board game that they open, and now they're little kid players in there. They've been collecting kids for like the longest time. And but then the men get distracted because they start arguing with each other, talking about, "Oh, you cheated," and blah 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 blah. And but before they got stopped, there was like ghosts, right? And these ghost people from round one, Jonathan used the flash on them. So Annie got mad, and no, Noah got mad and was all like, "That's cheating." She's like, "Well, you cheated and everything." Now, when they're ghost people, the ghost dude, his name is still Noah. As for the other ghost dude, I don't know what his name is. 'Cause it can't be Annie. And so, they decide, okay, the way they're gonna get out the house is they're gonna roll the dice, and hopefully it lands on a 7. And somehow it miraculously does. It lands on the ghost dudes, and then they go to heaven. And then Nadine and Jonathan do what any kids in Goosebumps would do. They booked it. They hightailed it. They got the freak nuts out of there. And so, like, then we see that little girl again luring 2 other kids into the house. And it ends with her with a sinister grin on her face. Who exactly is that little girl? Don't know. Is she a ghost? Is she just a little girl? Don't know. But it differs in the ending from that of the book. In the book, what happens is they never escape that house and they just keep playing it over and over and over as new kids come and new rules happen. And so the ending to like the book is way darker than that of the show. But this was just like a cool episode, man. It was eerie, it was creepy. It's like, gee, if it was to happen to you, you know you would be freaked out and everything. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.